37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Pixelated Paranormal here with episode 172. And I am Sean, and with me as always is Preston.
What's up, everybody?
And Big Steven.
Yo, what's up?
Real quick, Steve, my kid tuned into last week's episode, and he says you need to get out of here with that fucking dragon blood bullshit. Dog chomp is where it's at.
It's so crazy. Like when we talk about things, I totally forget. I'm like, drag? Like, I can't remember. We get on tangents about weird ass shit.
You fucking hipster.
Speaking of dog chomp on Dragon's Blood, I went into the record store here locally to see how much that Bram Stoker's Dracula OST was.
Oh,
and
nice.
The dude working was real cool dude, kind of reminded me of kind of a former hippie kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he had some incense burning, and I almost wanted to be like, is that Nog Champa? But I couldn't remember what it was called.
You should have texted your boys.
I know. I was like, I almost said, is that Goblin Tonks or whatever it's called? But
What?
I'm like, no,
Goblin Tonks?
I fucking Nog Champa. You're telling me that
Goblin Tonks. That sounds like an awesome
bust
name.
my balls for getting that name wrong.
Goblin Tonks.
All right, calm down, Third Planet.
Yeah, that's shit, man. Oh, good stuff. Well, as promised, this episode will be listener stories. However, I want to say at the top, we have 3 stories tonight. We are supposed to have a 4th. However, the listener who was going to call in and share their story with us live had an emergency in his family, and so we just want to give some positive vibes and let him know we're thinking about him, and we'll catch up, when everything kind of settles down. We'll do that. No worries. So we got another good one lined up in the future here to share. But yeah, he couldn't be with us last minute. But anyway, we got 3 solid bangers for you guys tonight. But beforehand, we wanted to share with all of you guys, our listeners, we're going to drop our 2020 Wrapped, hashtag 2020 Wrapped Spotify analytics real quick, because everybody's sharing those right now. I don't know why we didn't share these on the old Instagram, but
We can still do it.
yeah, for sure, man, for sure. But we've been on Spotify for just a little under a couple years now, and I'm pretty stoked to say, boys, that we are actually being listened to in 25 different countries.
That's gross.
Isn't that insane?
That's pretty weird.
It is weird. It is literally about 23 more countries than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, dude. It's
cool.
really, really cool.
I love stats. Every time, I've been a Spotify member for, I don't even know how long now, so long. And every year I get these stats, and then the stats create certain playlists. And now that Spotify has upped their podcast game, podcasting is becoming like a full frontal feature for Spotify. So they're even doing playlists with since you like this episode and you listen to this much of this episode, we're going to show you this. It's so cool. So I think that with these stats, it might bring our podcast out maybe a little bit to a couple more people.
Yeah. I mean, hell, one more person is one more person,
It's really cool. I love the stat thing, man. So what are some of the other ones?
Sure.
What are some of the other
Sure. Our Facebook analytics shows that we have 2 people in Australia that listen to our show. So
nice. Good enough, man. Hell yeah. It's funny. I always really pay attention more to Instagram. I post everything to Instagram, and then it just piggybacks and tags everything in Facebook too. Our Facebook following has literally doubled over the last year. We've got, and these are, to me and to us, these are big numbers. To some of the big shots out there last podcast, this is small potatoes, but, we went from having 150 some odd followers to over 300 over the course of the last year. Pretty fucking cool. And our hearts go out to all you guys. Hats off. Thank you for joining us, for listening us, for following us. It definitely means the world to us, being kind of a smaller fish in the pond, but our hours went up 350%. So what does that mean, Steve? That means
the amount of hours
the shows we're posting.
How many shows we have. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, each show we usually do at least an hour, if not more.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
People streaming went up 295%.
Yeah.
Our followers on Spotify went up 140%, and listeners went up 81%, which is pretty fucking cool.
And I heard on another podcast that the way they do the stats, because they were trying to realize it, is that somebody listens to your show, they listen to your episode, they actually have to listen to quite a bit for it to count as the streamable hour. So it's not like somebody dipping on, dipping out. So it's actually people keeping them engaged in the listenership, which is pretty tight.
Yeah. And that stops bots from scamming and going in and just, activating 2 minutes per episode and boosting the numbers. So listenership went up 200% in New Zealand. We went up 105% in the United States and up 50% in the UK. So that's pretty rad. We dropped 2,494 minutes of content and over 41 episodes in 2020. Yeah, it's really cool, man. So thank you guys, all of you, for listening, for sharing, for rating us. We're close to about 30 ratings on the old iTunes. So please, guys, if you're on Apple, on iTunes, shoot us a rating, leave us a review. We'd love to hear about it. We'll read it on the air for you guys.
67 subscribers on YouTube. So everything's going up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you brought back the YouTube channel from the dead here recently, and getting some old stuff on there and getting the backlog, and it's cool, man. It's great. I think we've got some big plans for 2021. We had some bigger plans for 2020, but we're not going to beat that dead horse. We're just going to come back with all those things for 2021.
We actually have a couple news articles, things that popped up that people submitted to us.
Okay, go for it.
One got submitted to us. The other one is one that I found today. But we're not going to talk more. I don't want to talk anymore about the Mount Monolith shit. It's becoming more of like, oh, look, this is what's popular. Let's do one type of thing.
Okay,
like
sure.
You know what I mean? Is that how you guys feel? It's like another one pops up and it's like, come on. Like, it was cool at first, but like, we clearly know that this is just sensational art now.
Yeah, I mean, people imitate art imitates life.
Yeah.
So I think, what are we on now? Our fourth monolith.
Yeah, but what about all the ones that have popped up on NASA photos on Mars, Steve?
Yeah, that's cool. Fake news, but no, I'm just joking. So, Adam 12, awesome Adam 12 from the, I don't know what chapter of the 501st people, he wears the stormtrooper and does cool things for charities all around. Great group of people. He's an awesome listener. He's been a listener of ours for a very long time. He sends us this article. It's on IGN under the searchable tag of Star Trek, and he's obviously a big Star Wars fan. So it says, Galactic Federation of Aliens are in contact with U.S. and Israeli governments, claims former official. According to former Israeli Space Security Chief Haim Hashad, the United States and Israeli governments have been and are in contact with a galactic federation of aliens. So think Guardians of the Galaxy when they're being arrested and they're being booked in. Right. That's what I'm thinking of. It's where John C. Reilly works for. As reported by the Jerusalem Post, Ashad told the Israeli newspaper that Israel and the U.S. have been in contact with aliens and that these aliens exist as part of a galactic federation. Ashad, who served as the chief of Israeli space security program for nearly 30 years and is now a professor, said the aliens in the U.S. have made agreements based on researching and understanding the fabric of the universe. These agreements include a shared secret underground base on Mars, monoliths, where U.S. and alien representatives meet. Ashad said President Donald Trump was on the verge of revealing the existence of this galactic federation, but that the aliens stopped him from doing so, as they believed revealing their existence would have caused mass hysteria. Despite what the Federation reportedly behaves, Ashad said he decided to reveal this information now due to how well respected he is in academia and how much the academia landscape has changed in the last couple years. If I had come up with it, I'm saying like 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized. Today, they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I'm respected in universities abroad where the trend is also changing.
He's like, I already framed my plaques, bitches.
Yeah, so,
this is the kind of shit that makes me kind of sit back and think, it's so crazy it just might work,
Yeah.
oftentimes when shit like this happens and somebody leaks something, and you always have that government sect or that publisher or that agent who's like, okay, guys, how do we get behind this?
But it's pretty sad that if this did happen now, like they choose to make this contact during this time.
Well,
and they're only meeting with the U.S. and Israeli government.
I think what they were saying, though, is in some other articles, this shit dates back to like 1981.
Oh, okay, so it's probably a world underground world.
Yeah, and I mean, shoot,
and
you had all
Freemasons.
That stuff that goes back to
Freemasons.
It's the Freemasons. Yeah, Preston, what can you tell us? Congrats to your brother, by the way, for becoming a worshipful master. I saw that.
Oh,
Worshipful Master Jason. Congrats, buddy. Happy birthday, too.
Oh, I got something about that.
Okay. It's the perfect time to release this kind of news, too, with everything going on with our election, with COVID. It's kind of like, all right, guys, just kind of like just kick the ball in the middle of the field and just see what happens.
What they call in the biz, a fluff piece.
A fluff piece. A red herring, perhaps.
All right,
Preston, what do you got, man?
bro?
Oh, so because it's my brother's birthday today, I didn't want to, when I picked up the kids, I didn't want to, come home empty-handed. So I bought him a 6-pack of his favorite beer, which is Buffalo Sweat. And I wrote a lovely Post-it note that says, "Happy birthday. I hope you choke." And I laid it on his bed. So happy birthday.
Wow. Brotherly love.
Now, do we start up the tradition of every year on Jason's birthday telling the story of how he shit on his cat?
Yeah.
We should. Just the spark notes, guys. Jason, you know how much we love you. Jason went out one night with Preston, and he had one too many Reubens and one too many Guinnesses. Then he had another Reuben and another Guinness, and then that night he had a bit of the rumbly tummies. Apparently, he sleeps in the nude with his cat behind him. And what he thought was a trusty fart ended up being a shark, and he shit all over the bed and all over his beloved cat, Lucy, who then, like you can imagine, tore through his house like a cat that just got shit on.
Yeah. Singing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Boom.
It's actually Matt. The cat's name is Maddie.
Oh, Maddie. Well.
Oh, Maddie. I thought it was Lucy.
No.
He sure had a loosey-goosey.
I was thinking of Mindy's cat, Lucy.
Oh.
It's true. Oh, my God.
Oh, good night.
That's great.
Oh, gosh. Hi, Mindy.
Yeah.
So, any hoozle, happy birthday, Jason.
Yeah. And then he had to put the cat in the bathtub and try to give it a bath, and it just wasn't happy. So.
Just to make things worse, you just shit on me, you stupid human.
Yeah.
And now you're going to give me a bath?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well,
so happy 47th birthday, you old fucker.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Wait a second. Here's some Magic Mason numbers for you. The number 4 and the number 7 and 47. If you separate them, 4, 7, April 7th, it's Jackie Chan's birthday.
Wow.
There you go. Nice. So anyway, we talked about listener stories, guys.
Well, hold on. I got another hot off the presses story, dog. The one fucking week this dude doesn't ask us for news stories. I've got 2.
Yeah, Steve, I did want to congratulate you real quick because the way that you pronounced that Israeli guy's name, like, dude, that's top. Sean can't even pronounce half of the Japanese names we've done over the last 150 episodes, and you fucking nailed that Israeli name like right off the bat, and I'm proud of you.
Okay, so this is on the subreddit Interesting as Fuck. It's a really cool subreddit. They post pictures and stories and videos of just like things that are interesting as fuck. Bet you didn't think that. So
nice elevator pitch.
This says an 8 mile, not the movie, but an 8 mile long canvas filled with ice age drawings of extinct animals has been discovered in the Amazon rainforest. So this picture's pretty fucking great. It's in the rainforest, and there's a big wall, and there's a bunch of murals on it, a bunch of hieroglyphics. Mm-hmm. I don't know what animals these would be that would be extinct, but I mean, Preston, do you know anything about? You said something about this. Give a little bit more detailed about it.
Yeah. As far as like all the animals on there, I couldn't get the photo to like blow up to where I could actually look at it. Mm-hmm. But in the group chat, I was listening to another show, and they had actually brought on a book from an author that talked about crust displacement, and Charles Darwin was studying mollusk, because if you look down in South America, like the mollusks that are down there, they're not really native to that area, but somehow they got down there. They're very similar to the freshwater mollusks that we have around the United States. And then in the late 1800s, they were doing work in England, and they uncovered hippo bones, hippopotamus bones. And they were like, where the fuck did these hippo bones come from? Because hippos aren't native to England. And this author kind of came to the conclusion that had Darwin put together just a little bit more effort in the studying of the mollusk, he would have kind of eventually realized that humanity has been around for like a lot longer. And that if you look at all the ancient structures and everything, they all point toward the old poles, and that when the crust displacement happened, it shifted everything so quick that it moved like England from being in a warmer climate to a colder climate, and that inside that cave where they found the hippo bones, it was almost like a hyena den, because they found other animals like the skeletal remains that have been gnawed on. And then if you look in Siberia, like the woolly mammoths, like Siberia now, it doesn't have like a lot of like bushes and berries and plants and stuff. It's like a tundra wasteland. But these woolly mammoths didn't die of starvation. Like, you have to think about how big these animals really were. And all the woolly mammoth carcasses that have been found over the years, they've been so well preserved that when you look inside their belly, all of those current plants, berries and nuts and all that, they're not like degraded or anything. So you can tell exactly what they were. And it looks like they've been freshly eaten. That those animals were flash frozen so quickly that even after 3,000 years, you could actually cut into that carcass and have yourself a woolly mammoth steak. Like, that's how well preserved that meat is. And so this idea that the globe shifted all of a sudden very quickly, it moved things around. And that's where that legend of the sky is falling, because on one side of the earth, it was daytime, and then all of a sudden it was nighttime, and it literally looked like the sky had fallen.
Ugh, terrifying.
So this idea that you find this giant stone carving in the Amazon that shows all these animals that don't belong there, well, that's because we're looking at it from a modern viewpoint of what we understand. Whereas if you go back tens of millions of years, that continent was in a different location, and it had different animals on it, because the continents themselves were probably closer together. So these animals were able to migrate back and forth.
Yeah.
So.
I think I just find that stuff so interesting, especially like it was just found. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like the number one comment on there, it says, it's amazing how things like the same thing, like things can still be discovered today. And it shows like how much of the earth is still unexplored. And then somebody says, as recently as 2 years ago, we discovered a massive jungle city that has over 60,000 structures, and we're just beginning to use this technology. There are tons of places unexplored and are discovered. So it's basically, they found this ancient Mayan city under a Guatemalan jungle, because these jungles are so thick and so unmanned, uncharted for so long, that they're finding these huge civilizations that fascinates me beyond anything.
Yeah.
Like just the idea of like like the Goonies, like them finding their way down there and finding the ship, and like you finding something that's been hidden away for so long, and you being the first person to uncover that. It's so fascinating to me.
And then that would have me pose the question to you, Steve, if we uncovered in Siberia, tundra, a perfectly frozen woolly mammoth carcass, would you have a woolly mammoth steak knowing that the meat wouldn't kill you?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, I pictured Steven for more of a, I like to grow my own steaks in a laboratory from human meat.
No, not that shit again. Fuck that. I'd rather eat that frozen woolly mammoth anus than eat some fucking grown fucking cheek steaks. Ugh.
Slapping them mammoth cheeks, baby.
Mammoth cheeks.
That's a delicacy right there, Steve.
Yeah.
Gross. That's fucking fascinating, though. Wow. Just imagine how much of the world is undiscovered and how many more monoliths are out there.
Oh, God.
And dick statues.
Dick statues, yeah.
There was another phallus statue that appeared. I forget exactly where it was, but there was another one that appeared out of nowhere.
In your backyard, if you know what I'm saying.
I wish. No, a new phallus sculpture appeared in the Bavarian mountains recently.
It's too cold for that time of year.
Oh,
Steve.
speaking of phallus, I just watched the Office episode with, the flasher in the parking lot. And then Michael or Dwight calls Phyllis phallus. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So funny.
The show's too good.
It is. So good.
It really is. I just saw I just watched the episode where Michael does 24 push-ups and one girl push-up.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, anybody who can do more push-ups than me can go home for the day. And Stanley gets down there and does all those push-ups.
Yeah.
And then Oscar's like, what we're witnessing here, guys, is, what's he say, like, the same thing when a mother lifts a car off of a baby.
A car to save her baby. This is just incredible strength.
Anybody who can do 24 push-ups and one girl push-up. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life after January 1st when they pull off The Office.
It's on sale on Vudu till the first of the year. So
Ooh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
for
how much?
$30 for the full series. I think that's worth it. As much as I watch that show, and Netflix. Finally, this show's all over the place. I apologize, listeners. Netflix finally did something that I have been asking for forever. I've emailed them consistently asking for request of features. A fucking shuffle button. Thank you so much for adding that to the API. I appreciate you. It'll just shuffle your library, man. So anything in there, you just want to push it and take a chance on something, it'll do it. It's so cool.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Now, if they just put the shuffle into a specific series, it'll be even better.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant at first.
Yeah, but the fact that they're getting there is awesome.
On the note of Netflix, real quick, I want to highly recommend a movie. Our buddy Landon recommended this movie like 3 or 4 years ago. It's finally back on Netflix. Everybody needs to watch the film The Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh, yeah. Great movie.
Oh, my God. What a fantastic movie.
Yep.
It's got Dr. What's-His-Nuts from Jurassic Park.
Sam Neill.
Yeah, Sam something or other. It's got the kid who played on Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
Who unlocks
cool
Juggernaut. Yeah, it's such a fucking fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Feel good flick if you're kind of, wanting something fun to watch, a little more light right now. Fantastic film. And speaking of fantastic storytelling, let's jump into these listener stories, shall we? So first up, we have a story sent in from Nicole in Arizona. First, you guys are awesome. I found your podcast last year on Pandora while looking for something spooky/real to listen to. First of all, awesome. I'm glad to know that we're still rocking and rolling on Pandora.
That's wild. We never mentioned Pandora. So
I forgot all about Pandora.
Yeah, and the fact that she found us a year ago and still listening, that is incredible. Sorry to all the Pandora people out there.
Hell yeah, dude.
We'll try not to neglect you from now on. So thank you, Nicole, for bringing that to our attention.
Thanks for keeping Pandora alive.
Yeah.
She says, I work in a small ghost town located in Arizona. I work in a little inn, a hotel. And while cleaning, I listen to you guys. I started with the very first episode you guys did, and I'm just now into January of 2020. Anyways, the inn I work in is supposedly haunted. I say it that way in air quotes because the owner doesn't want to sell it for ghosts.
Oh, shit.
But it is, in fact, haunted.
Nice.
I've been in it for about 6 years. I've had my hair pulled, things moved, things disappear, and then when I ask for them back, they show back up.
So she's worked there for 6 years, and this shit's been happening for 6 years?
Dude.
What?
She's been with it. Been with the shit.
Been with the shit, for real.
Our balcony doors like to open on their own also, which is crazy because they have locks that wouldn't allow for such a thing to happen. I've always been open to the paranormal, even a little sensitive, I guess you could say. From imaginary friends as a kid to weird, unexplainable things as an adult, it's like they follow me. Anyways, My story I wanted to share is this. When I was a kid, my maternal grandmother lived below some Native American ruins. They bought a chunk of land and built their home. From this came an imaginary friend. From what I'm told, he was a little boy who had a pet dog. At one point after gaining this friend, my mom took us to Hawaii, and I told her the little boy said he couldn't go, but he'd let me take his dog. There was a VHS tape forever of me running in a field, laughing and screaming as if I was actually playing with a dog. However, there was nothing around. Anyways, I went to my paternal grandmother's house one weekend, and she says I asked if my imaginary friend could play. Her reply was simple. She said, if God says it's okay, then so do I. And as she says, I then ran off and played the day away. Her property was very large. She had a fruit tree field, and the back of her property went all the way to the river, so it was easy to get lost for the day.
Sounds fun.
I know, right? No kidding. Once I came back, she asked what God said to me, and I told her that God had said he had to go home, and we couldn't play anymore. From that day on, I never had an imaginary friend again. I don't recall any of this. Was it really an imaginary friend? A spirit that attached to me? I've questioned this my entire life. Like I said before, this has been happening my entire life. I've got some weird stories, haha. Anyways, thanks for taking time to read my ramblings. I love your podcast. All of you guys have got me through some boring-ass work days.
What an awesome,
Hell yeah.
awesome write-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that. And hey, we'd love to hear what else you got cooking.
Yeah.
What else has been going on?
Yeah.
Besides imaginary friends.
It's a great story because that's like the epitome of skepticism and not knowing, like, her writing, was it really an imaginary friend, a spirit attached to me? She's questioning her whole life. You know, that's pretty wild. The ghost dog, that was really cute. Like,
yeah,
we're gonna go to Hawaii.
That part's wicked.
Oh yeah, you can bring the dog. Cool.
yeah. You can take my dog.
I'm just picturing the dog from like Frank and Weenie or Night Before Christmas, just floating around.
Just a little sheet. Yeah, that'd be adorable. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks again, Nicole. We really appreciate that.
Awesome.
So up next, we've got a story that is from Samantha from the Under the Marquee podcast. And as you guys remember, Joe Nitcher already joined us last time for our 150th episode Listener Story Extravaganza. And so Samantha joined me after we recorded an episode of Under the Marquee together and shared this story with us. So recently, I had the extreme fortune of being a guest on the movie podcast Under the Marquee with Joe Nitcher and Samantha Ruth. Now, as you listeners may recall, Joe sent us a story, I think around episode 150, during our two-part Listener Story Extravaganza, and his story had to do with him being a child and the harrowing tale of Val Kilmer's cousin. But now, Samantha, you have a story you'd like to share with us about your own, what should I say, paranormal experience. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Hi, Samantha Ruth here. I have a really weird story. It's been about 10 years since it happened. And I'm a pretty big skeptic. I can usually find some sort of explanation for certain weird things that happen. You know, like if a door closes, it was the wind, or you know, kind of things like that. But,
right.
But this one has stuck with me to the point where I still actually have nightmares about it.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So I was 20 years old. I was in Vancouver, Washington, visiting an old friend of mine. Her birthday. It was her 21st birthday, and we, went out and got drunk, as you do, for your 21st. And but I was staying at her house with her family. So the way that the layout of her upstairs was you go up the stairs and immediately to the right, or I'm sorry, the left, was the cat room, which was what I was staying in. Yes, they had 17 cats, and they all had their own room. Yeah. So I got to sleep in there, and I'm allergic to cats, so that was a great time. But yeah,
Perfect.
so great. And my friend at the time, I'm not gonna use her name, so I'm just gonna call her Maddie. So down the hallway, it was her room, and her parents were right across from her. So I'm at the very end by myself next to the stairs. They're all passed out drunk. I had decided to not drink that night because I was 20 and kind of just wanted to, be there for my friend and be the designated driver and whatnot. So they're all asleep. One of our friends was in the living room downstairs, asleep, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was playing on my Nintendo DS. I think I was playing like Pokemon or something like that. And I just could not sleep for the life of me. And so I started hearing somebody walking back and forth down the hallway. Now, they didn't walk up the stairs. I didn't hear any footsteps up the stairs. I just heard them go back and forth in the hallway. And because it was the cat's room, we had to keep the door open. And so the cats could get in and out and whatnot. So I'm laying there, and suddenly the footsteps started getting louder. And I was like, well, this is weird. I was thinking in my head, maybe my friend just is drunk sleepwalking or something. And then and then the footsteps stop right at my door, and I see somebody just standing there. And I'm thinking it's my friend, and I'm like, Maddie, dude, like, go to bed. Like, what are you doing? And they still just kept standing there, and I was like, dude, this, like, you're freaking me out at this point. And so I took my DS and I pointed it, like the light, at the hallway, and there was nothing there. Like, that image was completely gone, that shadowy figure. So I was like, well, I'm gonna die, obviously. And, I mean, my heart's racing, and I kept hearing those footsteps back and forth, and back and forth. And then they started getting faster. And so...
Gross.
Oh, yeah, this is, about the point where I got up very quickly. And when I mean get up, I mean, like, I crawled, like, army crawled to the door, because I didn't want Slender Man to see me, crawling around. But so I tried to close the door, and then I hear down the hallway, and it's pitch black everywhere. And I hear like this jiggle on the doorknob, one of the doorknobs, either my friend's room or her parents' room. Keep jiggling and jiggling, and then suddenly it opens and it hits a wall. Like the door opens so hard that it hit the wall. And it actually left a hole in the wall from how hard that door opened. And so my friend's parents, they both got up. They're like, and they thought it was me. They're like, Samantha, like, what are you doing? And so I hear like the light click on. And at this point, I'm hiding behind the door. I also would like to point out, this house was located in a very small cul-de-sac with maybe 2 other houses, and the entire area surrounding it was woods, so it was already having that creepy feeling to it. Another possession movie just waiting to happen. So I heard their light click on down the hallway. My friend's dad, I heard him. He's like, "There's nobody there," and so I could tell they were waiting for a second, and I could tell, like, one of them, like, kind of peeked around, like, out the door. I could hear them, like, walk to the door, and then they just very gently closed it. But then I heard them say, they're like, "There's a hole in the wall from the door handle." And so, I am now petrified. I hid behind that door for quite some time, and I was like, okay, well, it stopped. And as soon as I got up and went back to my bed, the footsteps turned into like stomping, like back and forth down that hallway. I mean, and it lasted so long. I mean, I was like a child. I was hiding underneath the blankets. So it was around, I'm trying to think what time it was, but it was like the sun was about to come up, and at this point I'm not sleeping for the rest of my life. And the other weird part was I was under the blankets, and like I said, and I was playing my DS, and when I took off the blankets at one point just to see if the sun was coming up or anything, and all the cats had left the room, which was very weird. And that's something that's like incredibly unheard of, like in that household. So I'm still laying there, and I'm just kind of waiting for the sun to come up, and I'm trying to beat the Elite Four on Pokemon because that is the only thing that's keeping my mind busy at this point. I'm like, if I could just beat this dude's Dragonite, I swear to God, maybe the thing will go away. And then I hear the closet door handle start to jiggle, and I mean, I'm just laying there petrified, also just waiting for death. I'm thinking about what my family is gonna say at my funeral. But the door handle started to jiggle, and then again it slammed open, and it left another, like, a hole in their wall. Like, that's how hard this door. And it's still one of those things that, like, just keeps me up at night if I think about it too much. But so the next day, because, I mean, I kept trying to think of any sort of explanation, and I maybe got, like, an hour of sleep. As soon as I saw the sun coming up, it's kind of that childhood, like, oh, well, it's okay now. The sun is awake. Yeah, this isn't a James Wan movie in which there's going to be scary red demons popping up during the daytime. So, like, we're fine. We're good. I got maybe an hour's sleep, and I jumped up, and I went downstairs, and my friend's mom was down there. I mean, she just looked like a wreck. She had her hair up in a towel, and she was just in a robe. And her exact words were like, "What the fuck were you doing up last night? You put a hole in my wall." And I was like, "I didn't do that." I was like, "That wasn't me." And so she was like, "Well, then who could it have been? Because, like, there's nobody else in the house." And I mean, like, so I take her upstairs, and we look, and again, I'm a very big skeptic. There's very few things that I mean, like, I believe in enough to where, like, if something spooky happens. But I mean, Ghost Adventures is a bit of a stretch sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, the hole in the wall for the closet, and this is the weirdest one. It wasn't the same on my friend's mom, my friend's mom's wall, but it looked like a burn mark from where the handle put a hole in the wall from the closet. And I wish I still had a picture of it, but it's still one of those things that just doesn't add up to me. It will probably never make any sense. And especially the cats going missing at that random point. The cats did not go in that room for the rest of my trip there. I was there for about 4 more days. And I mean, like, kind of, we made jokes like, "Oh, it's just because they know I'm allergic to it." I'm like, no, I think there was something in that room.
Now, did anything else happen while you were there the rest of the time?
The only other thing that I could think of that was kind of bizarre was there used to be these raccoons that would kind of frequent up on the front porch, which nobody warned me about my first night up there. So this giant raccoon comes up to me while I'm smoking a cigarette, and I kind of, like, yelled inside. I was like, "Guys." And they're like, "Oh, that's Kevin. He's fine." And but I mean, sometimes there would be, like, rustling around in the bushes, and I would kind of be like, oh, where's Kevin? Let me go see Kevin. And like Kevin wouldn't be there. One time, my friend was taking a shower while I was there, and the bathroom door wouldn't open from her side. And it was just very weird. And actually, this was like my first introduction to Slender Man, because that's when Marble Hornets became pretty big around that time. And
right.
So everybody's like, no, you encountered Slender Man. I was like, the fuck I did. Like, he can stay in Washington if that's the case. But really not a whole else like happened, but that night specifically, I think will like haunt me for like the rest of forever. I mean, just that moment when I shined my DS on the shadow person and it was just nothing. There's a lot of explanations I can come up with a lot of things. There's nothing I can for that one.
Yeah, that's the unsettling part. Like, just out of a movie, all you have is that soft light of your DS.
Right. Yeah, and the big reveal. And
so, have they reported anything else happening before or after that?
No, I remember... I guess there was a couple instances with my friend's mom, and I'm no longer friends with this person anymore, unfortunately, so I wish I could find out more. But she said that there was a couple weird things that would happen, kind of along the same, like the stomping upstairs. But she always tried to say it was like the homeless community in Vancouver. I'm like, but we were out in the middle of nowhere. Like, this was not...
Right.
This was not like the suburbs or the city or anything like that. So, I mean, I just find that very hard to believe.
Yeah, and all that aside, why would there be some homeless person in their house?
Just pacing, not even looking for food. And the best part about that, too, was our friend named Brandon, who was downstairs at the time, asleep on the couch. Never heard anybody go up the stairs, never heard anybody leave, and I mean, he was right there next to the stairs the whole time. So I mean, there's just so many different things that don't make sense, that I like I said, I've tried. I've really tried to make sense of anything, but yeah, that's one that does. Every so often, if I hear people walking upstairs, I'm like, oh, not today. I was like, let me go grab my DS. Apparently, it fights them off.
Your one ghost busting tool. Yeah. Oh, that's insane, though. Disembodied footsteps are some of the spookiest things
sure.
to ever, I think, encounter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it just shadow people in general. Like, I mean, and that whole kind of thing. But the fact that it just kept pacing back and forth down this hallway, which was maybe about 15, 20 feet long, just back and forth with no direction. There was no purpose. And then the closet, I think that's the part that I think got me like the worst, was just hearing that door jiggle, the handle, and then it busted open, but the hole around it, like the ring, the burnt edge, that right. You know, that tripped me out a little too much. I can handle a lot of spooks, but man.
I had a lightly similar thing happen when I was a kid. I lived down in the basement in my mom and dad's house, my brother and I both, and I had to have been like 5 or 6 maybe. So it wasn't too uncommon for my mom to walk all the way around the house to the laundry room. And the laundry room in the back had the stairway that went down to the basement. And it's a fully finished basement, tile floor and everything. And I remember one night I heard my mom walk to the top of the stairs and then walk all the way down the stairs, but she was wearing flip-flops. And it was really bizarre to me because she never put shoes on to come downstairs. But I distinctly remember this sound, like you said, just it haunts you to this day. The sound of footsteps going down these carpeted stairs and then hitting the bottom of the stairs, and then the sound of the footsteps coming all the way to my bedroom door, stopping, and then turning around and walking all the way through the basement to my brother's room, stopping, then going back through the basement, back up the stairs, and as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, the footsteps stopped, and I never heard them walk across, the rest of the floor in the house. And the next morning I got up and I asked my mom, like, hey, when you came downstairs last night to check on us, why did you put your flip-flops on? Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, honey, I slept through the night last night. I never checked on you guys. I'm trying to, not check on you guys as much because I don't want to wake you up. And I mean, to this day, I still say poppycock because I know it had to have been her. But no, she swears she never came down. But whatever it was, I pulled the blankets up to my chin.
Yep.
And I don't think I fell asleep the rest of the night. So I've been in that spot that you're talking about, and it is not a fun place to be.
Well, and especially with the phantom footsteps, it's such a weird thing because like once you've known somebody or for so long, what their footsteps cadence sounds like, and so to hear something that is not that, and you're trying to place it, it just gives me the creeps.
Yeah, so they never reported hearing footsteps like that.
Well, I mean,
after that or before that.
My friend's mom, I mean, they're like I said that she's had a few instances where she says those footsteps have been, have happened again, like since I've been gone. But every time that I bring it up, she's way more of a skeptic even than I am. She just keeps saying it's probably just some homeless person that wandered in. And I was like, then you need to lock your doors. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if that's what you really think.
Even once. Yeah, once is too many times if somebody's coming in your home at night.
Oh, yeah.
That's how murder happens.
That's I mean, even that, it doesn't make any sense to me, especially, like, the staircase that they have that was, again, the cat room that I was staying in was right next to the staircase. So I could hear anybody that was coming up and down. And I didn't hear anybody. I didn't hear a door open, so nobody on the upstairs level could have opened their doors. I mean, there was just no rhyme or reason for it. So, I mean, unless they were pulling like a Bruce Willis Die Hard crawling through the vents kind of thing, but...
Right, which would probably cause even more noise
right.
than footsteps.
Yeah.
Man, what a hell of a night to choose to stay sober.
Right. I know, like, the one time... I know, and, like, oh, man. And that was, like, my big, like, excuse for it. I was like, guys, I was sober, though. Like, you guys were the drunk ones. I was the sober one for once. So...
Yeah. And I would think if somebody was that drunk to stumble around like that, they would say something, mumble something, or do something, or...
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Well, and even just, it was almost like a military march. Like, not even...
That's even worse.
Yeah, it was just very much... right? Yeah, it was just very much like, bum, 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 bum. Like... Yeah, like I said, I still, every so often I'll get nightmares about it, and also I sleep in the basement now because I feel like I wouldn't be able to hear it, so I think ignorance is bliss in that sort of, situation.
No, you're absolutely right. That is more than fair, yeah. Yep, I agree. Well, thank you so much for jumping on and sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. And not a whole lot of things give me goosebumps, but that was slightly unnerving.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me on and like having me share the story. And again, also thank you for joining us the other night for our podcast.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that was a blast. I had a great time. And go ahead and plug that again. Tell us where we can find you, where we can listen.
Again, Samantha Ruth is Under the Marquee, which is the podcast I do with Joe Nitcher, who's my best friend. You can find us on Facebook for sure, at facebook.com/marqueepod, because Marquee Podcast was already taken and those people are dead to us. Are
you guys, you're on iTunes now, right?
Yeah, we are on iTunes. We are on Spotify. Yeah, and if you guys have any movie-loving people that just want to listen to two weirdos talk about movies, we would be more than happy to have you listen to us. So,
Hell yeah.
but yeah, thank you again so much for having me on.
Well, that's a shitload of 17 cats. And when she's like hearing the footsteps and whatnot, that's creepy as hell. And then like, animal, man, I'll say this a million times. I've never experienced anything paranormal to the degree. The only thing in my life that has ever experienced anything paranormal had to deal with animals. I was dating somebody and their dad was going through hospice. Real emotional time. His soul was clinging on, staying on, you know, and he needed to pass. His body was failing and everything like that. The body, you know, during the death process, it's the strangest thing, man. Like,
sure,
they're not with it consciously, but like their soul is, and they're burnt, and like everything about who they are. And if they don't have closure or they don't want somebody or a certain person around, like their body will, you know, draw its last breath whenever.
Sure.
It's the weirdest thing. So during that time, he took his last breath. We were all in the other room. Somebody was taking a shower. The other people were in the kitchen cooking. And all of a sudden we're cooking, and all of a sudden the dog sits straight up, his ears perk up, and he just darts out of the room. And we're like, that was weird. A couple minutes pass by. He's not there watching us cook the sausage. Like, that was really weird. And we go look for him, and he's underneath the bed, stiff as a board, laying flat out underneath his bed, and he had passed. And like, jeez. I'm like, what? Like that. So that to me is kind of like a paranormal type thing. That's pretty strange. Sure. Like the exchange of energy or something, you know?
Yeah. The paranormal doesn't have to be Bigfoot and, you know, seeing ghosts. This is a broader term, a broader blanket statement, man. So for sure.
So with and that, when I was listening to her story and she's talking about the cats getting the fuck out, like, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's nature's alarm bell. When you see fog where fog shouldn't be, or animals, just get the fuck out. Yeah. You should get the fuck out.
And then if you're watching the fog, get the fuck out because that movie's garbage. No, I'm joking.
I like that movie.
I'm joking. It's a fun movie.
But yeah, that's intense, man. Just also disembodied footsteps.
Yeah,
are some of the creepiest shit to ever.
And I love the edit you did on that. Phenomenal edit job. Good job.
Oh, thanks. What'd you say earlier? Regular Martin Scorsese?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Pulling out
awesome.
The stops with the edit process.
Dude,
they ain't ready.
That's true. Yeah, we got some fun stuff planned. I'm excited. So, well, Samantha, thanks again so much for joining me and taking the time to tell that story. Again, I want to know more about the raccoons. I love raccoons. Raccoons are fantastic creatures. Anything that has tiny hands.
They're kind of creepy though too, man. They're shady.
Yeah,
and they only
those
come
trash
at night.
pandas.
Yeah,
they're ballsy.
They are ballsy. But I don't know. Ballsy. They're just like aliens too, man. They only come out at night, so I ain't fucking with them either.
Yep, it's true. Like Maneater.
Yeah.
Back behind Pizza Hut in El Dorado, we used to have three of these big old fat raccoons, man, and we had those things so close to being tamed. And I forget who it was.
When you're throwing out breadsticks every night, of course.
They'd get stuck in the trash can, and so we'd take the snow shovel and like get underneath them and slowly raise them up so they could jump out of the trash can. I saved one from drowning one time, and then we could go out there. They were tame enough where you could walk out there and hand them a piece of pizza. And it was so adorable because
they'd walk off with the top hat. Hello, my baby. Hello, my.
Well, we worked so hard to try to, do what we thought was taming these things. And, it used to be like you'd throw a piece of pizza and they'd grab it and they'd run off. And then as weeks progressed, it got to where you could walk out there with a piece of pizza and throw it to one. They'd grab it and they'd jump up and they'd hang from a tree limb that was right above the dumpster with one hand and then hold the pizza in the other hand and just sit there and munch this pizza while they were hanging from this tree branch.
I'm going to go ahead and say, now that we're on YouTube, anyone listening out there, please do not feed random stray animals. You could potentially get bit and then you would get rabies.
Yes.
There's our PSA so we don't get sued. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say two things came of this.
Wait, did somebody get rabies? Did they foam at the mouth like the cartoons?
One thing was I had one particularly chubby raccoon who, if he saw me coming out the back door with the dumpster, or the trash barrel, he'd come running over and hold both hands out like he wanted a hug.
He was keen.
He knew he was keen. He knew I'd pull out a piece of pizza and hand it to him, and then he'd grab it and he'd just sit there. He'd plop down on his fat little butt and just sit there and eat this pizza right there on the curb. It was the coolest shit.
That's adorable shit.
I was smart enough to know we weren't friends. this little bastard's just using me. Like, I'm not going to pick him up and cuddle him. Somebody else, I forget who it was, because, I mean, all that was at Pizza Hut at that time was just, you know, me and all my friends. Like, we were just, all of our high school buddies worked at Pizza Hut. Somebody did go back there and try to pick one up, and then had to go to the ER and get rabies shots in their belly button, because they were dumb enough to try to pick up one of the fucking raccoons.
Their belly button.
Yeah.
It bit him in the belly button?
Ins and outs. There's something to do with rabies shots and belly buttons, yeah.
Oh, he was totally going for something lower than the belly button.
No. He didn't get bit on the belly button. That's where you had to get the rabies shot.
Oh, really?
He got bit on the finger and tried to play it off and came in and like started washing his hands, and my
just
boss,
getting all that rabies over that pizza.
Yeah, Rachel was like, "Did you get bit?" "Oh no, I'm good. And I walked over. I was like, "Yeah, you're on your way to the fucking ER, buddy. You got bit by a fucking raccoon. Those things are nature's trash can. Outside of possums, I do think raccoons might be the next dirtiest creatures just to run around. They're just overgrown rodents, is what they are.
Yeah,
trash pandas.
That's crazy. That's crazy shit. The belly button. Oh,
yeah." And also, guys, please give Under the Marquee a listen if you enjoy movies. They do a real bang-up job on discussing some really fun films. And also, they just got through, I think, reviewing Fat Man, the new Mel Gibson movie. And I know, we all know Mel Gibson is a real asshole. If you can put that aside, watch Fat Man. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's also got, what's his name? Walt Goggins in it. Mm-hmm. Who played the bad guy, the heel in Justified as well. Pretty fun.
His movies that he writes and directs, like The Passion of Christ and Apocalypto, those weren't that bad. Like, those were actually good movies.
Oh, they're phenomenal
historical
movies.
pieces.
Yeah.
Like visual art piece, like dude, We Were Soldiers, The Patriot. I love his movies. Like he's not the best guy. He's got his issues.
He's a racist piece of shit, but he makes good movies. So.
Yeah. And then
watching Fat Man's a lot of fun, and somebody made the comment like, "Man, he almost redeemed himself." And I'm like, what the fuck he did? He's a racist, prejudiced piece of shit.
Yeah.
But he made a good movie, and I didn't pay to watch it, so.
Yeah. I was like, are we going to go there? Yep.
You didn't get to lick my pennies. Shit.
Yeah.
And up next, we've got our third and final listener story for this episode. This was titled The Stone House, sent to us from Scott.
Okay, real important question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever met a Scott with one T? It's always two T's. Is there any Scots out there with one T?
Huh.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I've never seen a Scott with one T. So Scott with two T's, let us know if you've met a Scott with one T. There you go. All right, the Stone House.
You caught me off guard.
I've never met a Scott with one T. It's crazy. All right, I've been waiting for that interjection all day long. So,
hey, you know what? I'm glad to make your dreams come true.
All right, Stone House.
All right, this is from Scott, the Stone House. Hi guys, I got a particularly interesting story to share with you all. It's kind of bizarre, but I'm not really sure how to describe it. Places can be haunted, sure. But can a place also control a person? Or maybe their memory? The story takes place from June 1st, 2011 until June 1st, 2012. I know it's very specific, but I'll explain why in a bit. My wife and I had just recently moved out of an apartment that we lived in for the last 4 years. And we were moving into our first house. We were still young, in our 20s, so we were renting this new place. It was an older stone house, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and a basement. It was an okay place, not the best, and certainly not the worst. It was just okay. It also had a basement that was unfinished, and a bit of an odd recent history.
Go on.
See, the woman who had lived there previously, who owned the property, had died there just 2 months before we moved in. She had a large German Shepherd too, who sadly also died in the house by starvation.
Aww.
Yeah, I know, that's a bummer. Way to bring down the house, Scott. Apparently, when the old lady died, nobody knew for a few weeks, so no one was there to feed the poor dog. So a rental company bought up the house, deep cleaned it, ripped out the carpet, put down some new, and half-assed painted the walls. And we signed the lease, a 1-year lease, 1 year that we'll never remember.
What?
We both recall moving in the first day on June 1st and putting all our stuff away. We remembered buying a washer and dryer, our first washer and dryer, and putting it in the kitchen. And we can even recall buying new furniture for the giant-ass living room. But I can't begin to tell you one single time we ever even turned on or used that washer and dryer. We must have because we had clean clothes, but the act of using the appliances themselves is blank. And we can remember being watched, but we don't know by what. But years after we left, we both began talking about something little, maybe like it was 1 or 2 feet tall, watching us when we were alone. But it's hazy. But that's about all we can remember of the house itself. It's just so bizarre. We can remember the layout of the place, little fragments of movies or shows we'd watch, a couple dinners we made, and the whispering from the basement, but that's about it. It's like a blanket of dark fog has been permanently cast over both our minds when we try to recall much of anything about that place. The basement was unfinished, cold, dank, and wet. And on occasion, the few that we can remember, when we were both either alone or when my wife might have been asleep, we'd hear whispering from the basement stairway that would trail up and escape out the spaces around the door. I can remember little bits and pieces when we'd hear the voices. We'd run over and open up the door, the stairs, and the voices would just trail off. I can also remember blacking out and waking up staring at the walls, like I just have these foggy memories coming to, and I'd just be staring at the walls. It's so strange. And my wife remembers even less. Like she remembers going out to eat, going to work, to doctor's appointments, and going on dates to the movies, but not much of anything that happened inside the house. It's like the house didn't want us to remember something. Did something bad happen to us in there? Who knows? We don't. One clear memory stands out, though. One specific night, I woke up at who knows what time, but I remember waking up and looking over to see my wife, sitting up in the bed and looking at the doorway. Her eyes were staring at the bedroom doorway, but she was looking down low, like at the floor. Her mouth was open like in a half scream, and she just stared. I asked what's wrong, and she just pointed at the door. The next thing I recall was the bedroom filling up with red lights, like a cop car parked outside your house, but no blue lights, no flashing, just solid red, and then blackness. Fuck that, dude.
That's crazy. No, that's nuts. This is definitely the most trippiest, creepiest fucking story we've ever gotten.
Right?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, man.
It's so good.
We had 2 cats, but I can't remember fuck all about them in this house. We had them before we moved in, we had them after we moved out, but I can't remember feeding them or changing their cat boxes either. But I know they lived because they moved with us into the new place we got after we left the stone house. I even bought a brand new push mower because we finally had an actual yard, and call it a glutton for punishment, but I love to mow yards. I don't recall mowing the grass at that house even one single time, but it got mowed. It had to have. We had a second bedroom that was supposed to be an office, but I can't even remember going inside that room even once. How fucked up is that? Maybe something happened in that second bedroom that we weren't supposed to remember? Did the house make us forget? Or was the house maybe protecting us from something instead? We moved out exactly 1 year after signing the lease. We knew something wasn't right, we didn't know what, but we knew we had to leave. So on June 1st, 2012, it was 101 degrees outside, and while my wife had to work, because for whatever reason she couldn't get the day off, I moved every last item we possessed out of that house by myself. It was the weirdest thing. Like the universe knew we were leaving and decided no one could help us. All our friends and family had to work that day. It's one of the very few days I remember clearly. No one was there to help me, so I did it myself. I must have looked like a deranged maniac. I remember literally running through the house, sprinting with stuff in my hands, just trying to get out of there as fast as I could. I even suffered a heat stroke because I was working so damn fast, but I kept pressing on and we got the fuck out. That's redundant. We got out and we shook that place from our souls. I grabbed handfuls of clothes, not even in boxes, just armloads of shirts, pants, underwear, socks, and just tossed them in the back of my truck. And each time I ran outside, I felt it watching me. Like that maybe the house itself was watching me. But I got every last thing out of that house. And now what's odd here? I can recall so many wonderful memories from the next rental house. Parties, Christmases, fights, triumphs, laughs, dinners, and so much more. It's been nearly 10 years now, and to this day we can't remember what, if anything, happened in that old stone house, but we both know we would never want to go back.
That's fucking nuts. First off, you need to go see who's living in the house now. My friend be like, yo, do you remember what you had for dinner last night?
Right.
And what do you guys think about like the 2 to 3 foot tall, whatever? What do you think? What do you think this could be?
1 to 2. I don't even know.
Isn't there some kind of like tall, some kind of creature that makes you forget when you see it?
You know, in Whitley Strieber's Communion, the movie with Christopher Walken, there were the little blue, like snub-nosed, pig-faced looking aliens that had cloaks on, and they were short, kind of fat, almost looked like some kind of like Pokemon. Those things were super short, so who knows? He talks about feeling like he's being watched by something. Who knows? It could have been something. So I don't know, Preston, what do you think?
It's a fucking demon. That's all it is. It's a fucking demon that was fucking siphoning off your memories and sucking out your soul. Get the fuck out of there.
That's crazy.
The Zuni Warrior doll from the Trilogy of Terror.
That, for real, that was a good story. Like that really creeped me out. Like, like that whole mouth agape shit. Like the slumber party camp movie, sleepaway camp movies or whatever.
Oh god,
her staring with that half open mouth
agape. Yeah. That's all I'm going to remember. That's all I'm going to picture now. It's just that.
Yep.
That's weird, man. It reminds me a little bit of like Amityville.
Yeah,
like the house itself being possessed and possessing people. It's freaky that he says,
and the red lights. Remember that was so weird.
Yeah, the red light, and I don't know. It's just bizarre to like think that you can't remember hardly anything. that happened in there, like a washer and a dryer.
What about like friends? Like, did they not have friends come over to the house that entire year?
I don't know.
Have maybe like a game night or some kind of like movie night or something,
like anything.
Dinner.
I mean, the whole year, and like
their friends probably got their soul sucked out too. They don't have friends anymore. They're all gone.
Their friends are the voices in the fucking basement. Who knows?
Yeah.
And this the weird thing too, like the mowing, like buying a brand new mower and then not even remember using it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, your grass had to be mowed. You'd get a city ordinance sent to you.
That and then when you looked at the mower, it would clearly show wear on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's strange.
But wonder if like the demons were like housekeepers too. They're like the little brownies, like the house elves, and they were doing all the cooking and the cleaning and the mowing.
It's a creature.
That's what it was.
Creature.
God, maybe it was. Maybe that's what his wife saw that night was.
Little house elf.
Little house elf.
Yeah.
Either way,
I don't know,
I think it's safe to say that it probably is a demon. And Scott, you can go ahead and unsubscribe because we don't want to get possessed.
Don't say
I'm just joking.
We did just talk about all those possessions.
Scott, Steve speaks for himself, not the rest of us.
Keep away the demons.
Yeah, just take a page out of.
Did you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby?
Yeah, no shit. Take a page out of Leslie's book. Get some sage spray.
Liquid sage, yeah.
Yeah, just get some liquid sage, spritz it around, you'll be fine.
God, that was a good story.
Solid. Yeah, 3 real bangers, man. I'm excited to hear what our last listener story will be when things finally settle down. We'll get that put in there. But otherwise, yeah, thank you, all 3 of you guys, for sending those in. We sure appreciate that. Some really good stuff. And if you guys, listeners, if you were not featured tonight, but you want to be featured as a listener story, please send them in. We'd love to start reading, 1 or 2 per episode if we can, get some more to filter in. So yeah, shoot us emails, pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. You can send us DMs, PMs. I'm too much of an old man to understand if those are 2 different things. Steve, you're hip. Is a PM
Same
and a
thing,
DM
bro.
Something different? Look at that. I'm learning.
Personal message, direct message, same thing.
Damn, even
same,
Preston
same.
do that shit? Damn.
Yeah.
And you can also, if you want to tell us your story, you can call our Google Voice number, my dog's snoring, 913. I swear my dog is snoring. When you guys hear that in the edits, when the ones I don't edit out, my dog literally is snoring. I'm not just, ripping some farts, I promise. If I did, I'd claim it. On a Google Voice number, you can call us at 913-662-3144. You can leave up to, I think, about a 3-minute long message. If it goes longer than that, just call right back and pick up where you left off. There's not any way for us to get longer messages than that.
And you can also always tell us to keep your name anonymous or where this happened, et cetera, et cetera. Anything you don't want your information let out, let us know.
Et cetera.
Yep, let us know, and we'll make it more comfortable for you.
For sure. Yeah. Like Nicole, I didn't say she sent us the name of the city she lives in, but I didn't want to really read that out. Maybe it's only got 1 hotel in the whole town. Now everyone knows it's haunted. Ain't gonna make nobody lose their no jobs over ghosts.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Cool. All right, let's get out of here. Steve, what do you got to plug, man?
Cool. Well, you pretty much did it, man. Hit us up on the Instagram, the Facebook. Instagram's PXL Paranormal. Check us out on Facebook, Pixelated Paranormal Podcast, where we post all the show pictures and interactions and all that stuff. Like it, share it, all that shit. And we'll give a shout out to all the listeners out there again. It's still the holiday spirit still in the air for some people, most people. And yeah, it's good to have friends and listeners out there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it is. Most definitely.
Special shout out to all the Pandora peeps.
Hell yeah, man. Shout out to Pandora. The Pixelated Pandorians. Yeah. Well, and while you're at it, guys, listening to new podcasts, check out the rest of the shows on the Pixelated Sausage Network. Check out Mark's solo show, Pixelated Sausage. Check out Unamazingly Baka. Please check out 13 Nightmares. I swear we got more shit coming out. It's kind of like a little surprise, just whenever we show up with one of those new shows. Yep. We'll be dropping Scream probably at the beginning of next week, so keep an eye out for that. And then I want to also please ask, give a listen, a follow, and a like to Under the Marquee. And one last show I want to plug. There used to be a podcast years ago. It was called Fear and Fame, 2 fantastic hosts. It was hosted by Mallory and also Jules. They are back now with a brand new podcast called Bat Brain Podcast. Give them a listen. It's pretty rad. They do kind of the same thing, paranormal stuff, but they do kind of a deep dive into the actual mental health aspect of the story. As luck would have it, the singularity is strong in this one. Our last episode, we covered the harrowing story of Annalise Mitchell. And oddly enough, on the Bat Brains podcast, their first episode was the same exact story. However, they really weigh in heavily on the actual mental health aspect of what she went through. I think they covered some of the medications she was on, that kind of stuff. So yeah, kind of a different spin and a different perspective on this story. So yeah, they, I believe their second episode's coming out here pretty quick. So yeah, give them a listen. It's a fantastic show. And I am beyond thrilled that, those ladies are back doing their thing again. So
pretty cool, man.
Cool. What do you got, Presto?
And as always, if you need a beard, if you want a beard, if you want to grow the best goddamn beard that's going to make Krampus and old Saint Nick jealous, then head on over to BigDobsBeardBomb.com. Use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order for a little holiday jingle, and pick up some scents like Dundee Cedar Bay Rum and Sweet Tobacco, fresh, citrus, and classic.
Oh, Snapperuga. Cool. And then if you're in the Wichita area, please check out CD Trade Post at Pawnee and Seneca. Pop in and say hello to Leslie and the gang. Guys, if you can, shop local, buy local, go online, buy stuff from artists who are making things with their God-given hands. You know, just try to support the little guy if you can. That'd be truly, truly fantastic. All right. And otherwise, I don't know the topic for next episode. We might do the Bell Witch, maybe. We talked about doing the Bell Witch. And then following that, our Christmas episode this year, I think we're going to drop an AMA Ask Me Anything episode there. So I'll put out a few APBs for some questions. If you guys have questions, you can email us, you can message us, you can comment on these social media posts. But yeah, we'd love to know what are your burning questions. We already have a few in the chamber. So
and Steve doesn't know it, but he actually inspired an upcoming episode. He gave me the inspiration to dive back into a book and cover a topic.
Ooh,
so
nice.
Yeah,
you're welcome, dude.
Pippi Longstocking.
Pippi. Hell yeah, I love that fucking movie, dude.
Pippi Longstocking.
She makes good hamburgers.
That's called cannibalism, and it's frowned upon.
No, it's Wendy's, bruh.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, fair enough. We hope you guys enjoyed those listener stories, and we can't wait to share some more with you guys. But until then, cheers to the weird shit in the world and to those of us that love to talk about it.
Stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.